Jake Martinez wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the old clock on the wall. It was almost closing time at his small repair shop in New Angeles. The rain outside made soft sounds against the windows. His shop was not fancy, but it was clean and well organized. Tools hung on the walls in neat rows. Broken machines sat on workbenches, waiting to be fixed. Jake had been fixing things since he was a boy. His father taught him how to work with his hands. Now, at 32 years old, Jake could fix almost anything that had gears, wires, or moving parts. His shop was located in the industrial part of the city, where many different kinds of people lived and worked. 20 years ago, Earth had joined something called the Great Alliance. This meant that aliens from other planets could come to Earth to live and work. At first, many humans were scared, but over time, most people got used to having alien neighbors. Jake liked the alien customers who came to his shop. They brought interesting machines to fix, and they always paid on time. The bell above his door rang. Jake looked up to see a young alien girl enter his shop. She was a Zephyrian, which Jake could tell from her light blue skin that seemed to glow softly. Her skin looked like it was made of water and light mixed together. She had large violet eyes and long silver hair that moved like it was underwater. The girl looked worried and sad. She carried something wrapped in a soft cloth. Jake could see that whatever she was holding was important to her. She walked carefully, like she was carrying something very fragile. "Hello," Jake said with a friendly smile. "How can I help you?" The girl's English was not perfect, but Jake could understand her. "My name is Lyra. I need help. My friend is broken." She unwrapped the cloth to show Jake what she was carrying. Jake saw a small robot about the size of a house cat. It was the most beautiful machine he had ever seen. The robot's body was made from some kind of crystal that had a soft blue glow inside it. The surface was smooth and curved, with no sharp edges. It looked more like a work of art than a machine. "This is Echo," Lyra said, holding the robot gently. "He has been with my family for a very long time. He tells me stories and helps me with things. But yesterday there was bad electricity in my home. Now Echo will not wake up." Jake could see tears forming in Lyra's eyes. The robot was clearly very important to her. He carefully took Echo from her hands and examined it. The robot felt warm to the touch, and he could see faint patterns of light under its crystal surface. "Can you fix him?" Lyra asked. Her voice was full of hope and worry. Jake turned Echo over in his hands. He had never seen anything like it. The design was completely different from human technology. There were no obvious screws or panels to open. The whole thing seemed to be carved from one piece of crystal. "I think so," Jake said, "but I need to look at it more carefully. It might take a few days. How much will it cost?" Lyra asked. Jake thought for a moment. He could see that Lyra did not have much money. Her clothes were simple and worn. $50, he said. It was much less than he usually charged, but he wanted to help her. Lyra's face lit up with relief. "Thank you. I can pay that." She reached into her small bag and pulled out crumpled bills. "When can I come back?" "Give me 3 days," Jake said. "I will call you when Echo is ready." Lyra wrote her phone number on a piece of paper. Her handwriting was flowing and beautiful, like her language. "Please be careful with him," she said. "He is very old and very special to my family." After Lyra left, Jake placed Echo on his main workbench. He turned on his bright work light and put on his magnifying glasses. The robot was even more amazing up close. The crystal surface was not just smooth. It had tiny patterns carved into it that looked like writing or maybe electrical circuits. Jake could not find any obvious way to open the robot. He tried looking for hidden panels or buttons, but there were none. He decided to use his electrical scanner to see what was inside. The scanner showed him that Echo had a very complex internal structure. There were networks of what looked like wires, but they were made of light instead of metal dot at the center of Echo's body. Jake found something that looked like a power source. It was dark now, but he could see that it was damaged. Some kind of electrical surge had burned out part of the power system. The good news was that the rest of Echo's internal systems seemed to be undamaged. Jake had worked on many different types of machines, but Echo was unlike anything he had ever seen. The technology was far more advanced than anything humans had created. Even the alien machines that came to his shop were usually simpler than this. He spent the rest of the evening studying Echo's design. The more he looked, the more impressed he became. Every part of the robot seemed to serve multiple purposes. The crystal body was not just pretty, it was also part of the electrical system. The curved shapes were not just artistic, they helped the robot move efficiently. Jake realized that fixing Echo would be one of the biggest challenges of his career. But he was excited about the chance to work on such an amazing machine. He had always loved puzzles, and Echo was the most interesting puzzle he had ever encountered. As he locked up his shop that night, Jake thought about Lyra and how important Echo was to her. He promised himself that he would do everything possible to bring her mechanical friend back to life. He did not know that he was about to discover something that would change his life forever. Jake arrived at his shop early the next morning, eager to continue working on Echo. He had spent most of the night thinking about the little robot and how to fix it. He brought coffee and donuts from the shop next door, planning to work through lunch. First, Jake needed to figure out how to open Echo without damaging the crystal body. He tried several different approaches. Heat did not work. Cold did not work. Finally, he discovered that Echo responded to a specific pattern of electrical pulses. When Jake applied the right sequence, a small panel slid open on Echo's back. Inside, Jake found the most complex machine he had ever seen. The power source was in the center, surrounded by layers of crystalline circuits. Everything was smaller and more detailed than human technology. Jake had to use his strongest magnifying equipment to see the individual components. The damaged power core was about the size of a marble. It had a crack running through it, and several of the tiny connections were burned. Jake carefully removed the core and examined it under his microscope. The technology was completely foreign to him, but he thought he could build a replacement. As Jake worked, he noticed something strange. Echo's internal systems were much more complex than they needed to be for a simple companion robot. There were memory banks that seemed huge for a pet. There were processing units that looked like they could run a small spaceship. Why would a family pet need so much computing power? Jake's curiosity got the better of him. While he waited for the replacement power core to charge, he connected Echo to his computer and tried to look at the robot's memory files. What he found surprised him. Echo's memory contained thousands of files, organized in a way that Jake had never seen before. Most of the files were encrypted, but he could see their creation dates. Some files were marked as being hundreds of years old. Others appeared to be thousands of years old. This did not make sense. How could a family pet have files that were older than human civilization? Jake tried to open some of the newer files, but they were written in languages he did not recognize. The text used symbols that looked like combinations of mathematical equations and artistic designs. Even the file names were in alien writing. Around noon, Jake's friend Danny Rodriguez stopped by the shop. Danny was also a mechanic, but he specialized in military equipment. He worked at the Earth Defense Force base outside the city. "What are you working on?" Danny asked, looking at Echo on the workbench. "A companion robot for one of my customers," Jake said, "but it's more complex than I expected." Danny picked up Echo and examined it carefully. His expression grew serious. Jake, this is not a pet robot. Look at these neural pathways. He pointed to some of the crystalline circuits. These are more advanced than anything we use in our military eye systems. This thing has processing power. That could run a battleship. What do you think it really is? Jake asked. I have no idea, Danny said. But I can tell you that whoever built this has technology that is far beyond what any known species is supposed to have. The Zephyrians are supposed to be peaceful traders. Their tech is usually simple and efficient. This is neither simple nor something a trader would need. After Danny left, Jake felt more confused than ever. He had promised Lyra that he would fix Echo, but he was starting to wonder what he was really dealing with. Was Echo really just a companion robot, or was it something more important? That evening, Jake decided to do some research. He went online and looked up information about Zephyrian history. Most of what he found was basic information that every human learned in school. The Zephyrians were an old species that had achieved space travel about 500 years ago. They were peaceful traders who had joined the Great Alliance to share technology and culture. But Jake dug deeper. He found some academic papers that suggested Zephyrian history was more complex than most people knew. There were references to an ancient Zephyrian empire that had once been much larger and more powerful. Some historians believed that the Zephyrians had been spacefaring for thousands of years, not just hundreds. Jake also found mentions of a great war that had happened long ago. The details were unclear, but it seemed that the Zephyrians had fought against some kind of aggressive enemy. The war had apparently ended with the Zephyrians losing most of their territory and technology. As Jake read, he began to wonder if Echo was somehow connected to this ancient history. Maybe the robot was not just a family pet. Maybe it was something much more important that had been disguised as a simple companion. The next day, Jake continued working on Echo's power core. He had managed to create a replacement using human technology, but he was not sure if it would work properly. The original core used principles that he did not fully understand. As he worked, Jake accidentally triggered something in Echo's systems. For just a moment, the robot's eyes began to glow with bright light. A holographic display appeared above Echo's head, showing what looked like a star map with navigation routes marked in glowing lines. The display lasted only a few seconds before fading away. But in that brief moment, Jake saw mathematical equations that described something called hyperspace navigation. He also saw symbols that matched some of the text he had found in Echo's memory files. Jake realized that Echo contained navigation data for star systems. This was definitely not normal for a pet robot. Companion robots were supposed to tell stories and help with household tasks. They were not supposed to contain star maps and navigation data. Jake spent the rest of the day thinking about what he had discovered. Echo was clearly much more than Lyra had told him. But maybe Lyra did not know Echo's true nature. Maybe the robot had been in her family for so long that they had forgotten what it really was. Jake decided that he would finish repairing Echo and return it to Lyra as promised. But he would also ask her some careful questions about Echo's history. He needed to understand what he was dealing with before he made any decisions about what to do next. As he prepared to install the new power core, Jake wondered if he was about to wake up something that had been sleeping for a very long time. The thought both excited and worried him. He had always loved challenges, but this was bigger than anything he had ever faced before. Jake carefully inserted the new power core into Echo's body and sealed the access panel. Now all he had to do was turn the robot on and see what happened. He had no idea that he was about to have a conversation that would change his life forever. Jake took a deep breath and pressed the power button on Echo's new core. The crystal body began to glow softly, and the robot's eyes flickered to life. Jake expected to hear simple companion responses, maybe some basic greetings or status reports. Instead, Echo sat up with smooth, graceful movements and looked directly at Jake. When the robot spoke, its voice was deep and dignified, nothing like the cheerful tones Jake expected from a pet. "Guardian of the ancient ways," Echo said in perfect English. "I greet you with the respect due to one who has restored life to the forgotten." Jake nearly dropped his tools. "What did you just call me?" Echo tilted its head, studying Jake with glowing eyes. "You are the one who has awakened me from the long darkness. You have proven yourself worthy through your skill and dedication. I am Echo, keeper of the lost knowledge, repository of the eternal wisdom." "But you're supposed to be a companion robot," Jake said, his voice shaking. "Lyra said you tell stories and help with daily tasks." "I do tell stories," Echo replied, "but they are not simple tales for children. They are the true histories of civilizations that rose and fell before your species learned to make fire. The tasks I help with are not household chores, but the preservation of knowledge that could reshape the galaxy." Jake sat down heavily in his chair. "I don't understand." "Lyra seemed to think you were just a family pet." Echo's crystal body pulsed with gentle light. "Young Lyra knows only what her family has told her. For generations, my true nature has been hidden to protect both the knowledge I carry and those who guard me. To them, I am simply Echo, the storyteller who has been with their family since before memory." "What knowledge?" Jake asked. "What are you really?" Echo stood and walked to the edge of the workbench. Despite being small, the robot moved with a dignity that made it seem much larger. "I am one of 7 repositories created in the final days of the great Zephyrian Empire. I contain 3,761 years of accumulated wisdom, scientific discoveries, philosophical teachings, historical records, and technological innovations." Jake's mind raced. The Zephyrian Empire? I thought they were just peaceful traders. "That is what they became after the Great War," Echo explained. "But once, the Zephyrians ruled across dozens of star systems. They were builders, explorers, and keepers of peace. Their technology was advanced beyond anything your species has yet imagined. Their philosophy emphasized harmony between all forms of life." "What happened to them?" Echo's eyes dimmed slightly. "They were destroyed by an enemy called the Vorthik. The Vorthik were a species that believed strength came only through conquest and domination. They saw the Zephyrian commitment to peace as weakness. They attacked without warning and showed no mercy." Jake listened as Echo described the war. "The Vorthik had superior weapons and a willingness to destroy entire planets to achieve victory. The Zephyrians had tried to find peaceful solutions, but the Vorthik wanted only total surrender or complete destruction. As the Empire fell," Echo continued, "the greatest minds of my people created 7 repositories like myself. Each one contains the full knowledge of our civilization. We were scattered across the galaxy and hidden among the survivors, disguised as simple companions to avoid detection." "Why are you telling me this?" Jake asked. "Why not tell Lyra's family?" Echo moved closer to Jake. "Because the repositories were designed with a specific purpose. We were meant to find guardians from other species who could help preserve and protect our knowledge. The Zephyrians knew that their own people might not survive, but they hoped that others would carry on their legacy." "You want me to be your guardian?" "I have been observing you during the repair process," Echo said. "Your skill with machinery is impressive, but more importantly, you show the qualities my creators valued: curiosity, dedication, and moral character. You could have easily stolen my technology or sold me to the highest bidder. Instead, you worked carefully to restore me for a young girl you barely knew." Jake felt overwhelmed. "But I'm just a mechanic. I fix broken machines. I don't know anything about ancient empires or galactic knowledge. That is precisely why you are perfect for this. Roll, Echo replied. You approach problems with practical thinking and honest intentions. You are not corrupted by politics or blinded by ambition. These are the qualities that will allow you to use our knowledge wisely. To demonstrate his point, Echo projected a holographic display showing advanced engineering diagrams. This is a power generation system that could provide clean energy for your entire planet. This is a medical scanner that could detect and cure most diseases. This is a communication device that could allow instant contact across the galaxy. Jake stared at the displays in amazement. The technology was far beyond anything humans had developed. You're saying I could build these things? With my guidance, yes, Echo said. But knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. The Vorthik also possess advanced technology, but they use it only to destroy and dominate. The choice of how to use knowledge is what separates creation from destruction. Jake stood up and walked around his shop, trying to process everything Echo had told him. What happened to the other repositories? Echo's expression grew sad. I do not know. We were designed to remain hidden until we found suitable guardians. I have been with Lyra's family for 60 years, waiting for the right moment to reveal myself. You are the first person I have encountered who has the right combination of skills and character. But why now? Why reveal yourself to me? Because the Vorthik are still searching for us, Echo said. They have developed technology that can detect our energy signatures. They have already found 3 of my companions. Each repository they capture makes them more powerful and more dangerous. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. They're coming here? Eventually, yes. The Vorthik will never stop searching until they have found all 7 repositories. They believe that possessing our knowledge will make them the dominant force in the galaxy. Echo moved to the window and looked out at the busy street. But there is hope. If we can find guardians for the remaining repositories, we can begin to rebuild what was lost. The knowledge we possess could usher in a new golden age of peace and prosperity. Jake joined Echo at the window. What would I have to do? Learn? Echo said simply. I will teach you everything I know, but you must promise to use this knowledge only for the betterment of all species. You must also help me find the other repositories and protect them from the Vorthik. Jake thought about his quiet life as a mechanic. He had been content fixing broken machines and helping his customers. Now he was being asked to become guardian of knowledge that could change the galaxy. If I say yes, Jake said, what happens to Lyra? She loves you. You're part of her family. Echo's voice became gentle. Lyra will always be important to me, but she deserves to know the truth about what her family has been protecting. With your help, I can teach her about her true heritage and prepare her for the challenges ahead. Jake looked at the small robot and realized that his life had already changed. He could not pretend that he had never heard Echo's story. He could not go back to being just a simple mechanic who fixed broken machines. Okay, Jake said, I'll help you. But I need to know everything. No more secrets. Echo's crystal body pulsed with warm light. Then let us begin. The knowledge of 3,761 years awaits, and there is much work to be done. Over the next 2 days, Jake's world changed completely. Echo taught him things that made his head spin. The robot showed him energy systems that could power entire cities without creating pollution. He learned about medical techniques that could heal injuries in minutes and extend human life by hundreds of years. Jake worked late into the night, taking notes and asking questions. Echo was patient and thorough, explaining complex concepts in ways that Jake could understand. The robot's knowledge seemed endless. Every answer led to 10 more questions. This is incredible, Jake said, looking at plans for a device that could clean polluted water instantly. We could solve so many problems with this technology. Knowledge without wisdom is dangerous, Echo reminded him. These innovations must be introduced carefully. Too much change too quickly can cause chaos and fear. Jake was sketching improvements to the design when the bell above his shop door rang. He looked up to see Lyra entering, but she was not alone. 2 tall figures in dark robes followed her inside. Jake could see that Lyra had been crying. "I am." "Sorry, Jake," Lyra said, her voice shaking. "I did not want to bring them here, but they made me." The 2 robed figures pushed back their hoods, revealing Zephyrian faces that looked much older than Lyra's. Their skin was darker blue, and their eyes held the weight of many years. They moved with the authority of people who were used to being obeyed. "I am Elder Vex," the taller one said. "This is Commander Thane. We represent the Council of Zephyrian Survivors. We have come for the repository." Echo stood up on the workbench. "Greetings, Elder Vex. I remember your grandfather. He was a wise leader during the final days of the Empire." Elder Vex's eyes widened. "You are truly awakened. We had hoped, but we were not certain. Our people have searched for the repositories for decades." "Why now?" Echo asked. "Why reveal yourselves after all these years?" Commander Thane stepped forward. "Because the Vorthik have found us. 3 repositories have already been captured. Each one they take makes them stronger and brings them closer to finding the rest." Jake felt his stomach drop. "The Vorthik are here? On Earth?" "Not yet," Elder Vex said. "But they will come. They have developed technology that can track repository energy signatures across great distances. It is only a matter of time before they locate you." Echo's crystal body pulsed with urgent light. "Then we must act quickly. The knowledge cannot fall into their hands." Elder Vex nodded. "We have prepared a secure facility where you can be protected. Our best scientists are standing by to help extract and preserve your knowledge." "Extract?" Jake said. "What does that mean?" Commander Thane's expression grew cold. "The repository contains too much knowledge for any one being to protect. We will transfer the information to multiple secure locations and destroy the original unit to prevent capture." "You want to destroy Echo?" Jake said, anger rising in his voice. "The repository is not alive," Commander Thane replied. "It is a storage device. What matters is preserving the knowledge within." Echo moved to stand beside Jake. "I am afraid it is not possible, Commander. I was not designed to be destroyed after revealing my knowledge. I am meant to remain active, to guide and teach." Elder Vex looked confused. "But the old records suggest that the repositories were temporary storage devices." "The records are incomplete," Echo said. "We were designed to find guardians from other species who could help us preserve and share our knowledge across the galaxy. I have chosen Jake Martinez as my guardian." The 2 Zephyrian officials looked at Jake with surprise and disapproval. "A human?" Commander Thane said, "Impossible. The repositories were created by Zephyrians for Zephyrians." "The repositories were created to preserve knowledge for all species," Echo corrected. "My creators knew that the Zephyrian people might not survive the war. They hoped that others would carry on their legacy." Jake found his voice. "I may not be Zephyrian, but I understand the responsibility. Echo has been teaching me, and I'm committed to protecting this knowledge." Elder Vex studied Jake carefully. "You are just a mechanic. You have no training in galactic politics or advanced science. How could you possibly guard something so important?" "Maybe because I'm not trained in politics," Jake said. "Maybe because I don't have any agenda except helping people. Echo chose me for reasons that I'm still learning to understand." Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the city. The emergency broadcast system activated, sending warnings to every screen and speaker in New Angeles. "This is not a drill," the automated voice announced. "Unknown spacecraft have entered Earth's atmosphere. All citizens must remain indoors until further notice." Commander Thane's face went pale. "They found us. The Vorthik are here." Through the shop window, Jake could see a massive dark ship hovering over the city. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, angular and aggressive, with weapons that crackled with energy. Smaller ships detached from the main vessel and began scanning the city below. Echo's eyes began glowing brightly. "War Master Krell commands." That ship, he was the one who destroyed the repository worlds during the Great War. He has been hunting us for centuries. The shop's radio crackled to life. A harsh voice spoke in heavily accented English. "People of Earth, we seek only one thing. Surrender the Zephyrian Repository Unit, and your world will be spared. Resist and face the same fate as a dozen other planets." Jake looked at Echo, then at the Zephyrian officials. "What do we do?" Elder Vex and Commander Thane exchanged worried glances. "We must evacuate immediately," Elder Vex said. "We have a ship hidden outside the city." "Running will not solve the problem," Echo said. "The Vorthik will keep hunting until they find me, and they will destroy anyone who gets in their way." Jake made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. "Then we don't run. We fight?" "Fight?" Commander Thane said. "Against a Vorthik war fleet? It's suicide." "Maybe," Jake said. "But Echo's knowledge is too important to let them have it. And I'm not going to let them destroy Earth looking for it." Echo moved closer to Jake. "There is another way. The repositories were not just storage devices. We were also designed to work together. If we can find the other surviving repositories, we can combine our knowledge to create defenses against the Vorthik." "Where are they?" Jake asked. "I do not know their exact locations," Echo said, "but I can sense them if we get close enough. There should be 3 others still free." Jake looked at the Vorthik ships outside his window. He thought about his quiet life as a mechanic, fixing broken machines and helping his customers. That life was over now. He had a choice to make: surrender Echo to save Earth, or fight to protect knowledge that could benefit the entire galaxy. "Lyra," Jake said, turning to the young Zephyrian girl, "your family has been protecting Echo for generations. What would they want you to do?" Lyra wiped tears from her eyes. "They would want me to keep him safe. They would want me to help him fulfill his purpose." Jake nodded. "Then that's what we'll do. We'll find the other repositories and stop the Vorthik from taking them." Elder Vex shook his head. "You don't understand what you're proposing. The Vorthik have been preparing for this for centuries. They have weapons that can destroy planets. And we have knowledge that's 3,761 years old," Jake said. "Echo, can you teach us how to fight them?" Echo's crystal body pulsed with determined light. The ancient Zephyrians were peaceful, but they were not helpless. "Yes, I can teach you. But it will be dangerous for everyone involved." Jake looked around at the group: a young Zephyrian girl, 2 officials who wanted to run, and a robot containing the knowledge of a lost civilization. It was not much of an army, but it was what they had. "Then let's get started," Jake said. "We have a galaxy to save." Outside, the Vorthik ships continued their search, unaware that their greatest challenge would come not from armies or governments, but from a small group of unlikely allies led by a human mechanic who refused to give up. That night, while the Vorthik ships patrolled the skies above New Angeles, Jake huddled in his shop with Echo, Lyra, and the 2 Zephyrian officials. They had turned off all the lights and drawn the curtains, but Jake could still see the blue glow of search beams sweeping the streets. Echo sat in the center of the group, his crystal body pulsing with soft light. "There is something I must tell you all," he said. "Something that even the Council may not know. Elder Vex leaned forward. What is it? The repositories were designed with a failsafe, Echo explained. We cannot be fully activated by members of our own species. We require bonding with guardians from different races to prevent any one civilization from monopolizing our knowledge. Commander Thane's eyes widened. That's impossible. The repositories were created by Zephyrians for Zephyrians. No, Echo said firmly. They were created by Zephyrians for the galaxy. My creators knew that diversity of thought and perspective would be essential for using ancient knowledge wisely. That is why I chose Jake, and why the other repositories. We'll also need guardians from different species. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. What exactly does it mean to be a guardian? Echo turned to face him. It means you will have access to knowledge that could advance your civilization by thousands of years. You will learn technologies that could solve hunger, disease, and conflict. But you will also become a target for those who would misuse that knowledge. The Vorthik will never stop hunting you, Elder Vex warned. They have pursued the repositories for centuries. They will not give up now. Then we need to be smarter than they are, Jake said. Echo, you mentioned that the repositories can work together. What did you mean? Echo's eyes brightened. When multiple repositories are brought together, we can combine our knowledge to create technologies that none of us could develop alone. The ancient Zephyrians used this technique to build their greatest achievements. Like weapons? Commander Thane asked. Like defenses, Echo corrected. The Zephyrians believed that the best way to stop violence was to make it impossible, not to create greater violence in response. Jake's mind raced. How do we find the other repositories? I can sense them across short distances, Echo said. But we would need to get close to their approximate locations. The problem is that the Vorthik can track our energy signatures when we are active. Lyra spoke up for the first time in hours. My grandmother used to tell stories about other families like ours, families who kept special things safe. She said they were scattered across the galaxy like seeds in the wind. Echo nodded. Your grandmother was wise. The repositories were indeed placed with different families, each given only partial information about their true purpose. Outside, the sound of Vorthik patrol ships grew louder. Jake moved to the window and peered through the curtains. The alien ships were methodically searching every building in the city. They would reach his shop within hours. We need to move, Jake said. But first, I need to understand what I'm committing to. Echo, if I become your guardian, what changes? Echo stood and walked to Jake. You will have access to knowledge that could transform your world, but you will also be responsible for protecting that knowledge from those who would misuse it. You will need to make difficult decisions about what to share and when to share it. And if the Vorthik capture me, then billions of beings across the galaxy will suffer under their rule, Echo said simply. The knowledge I contain is not just scientific. It includes the wisdom of how to live in peace with other species, how to resolve conflicts without violence, and how to build societies that benefit everyone. Jake looked at his simple repair shop, filled with broken machines and basic tools. A week ago, his biggest concern had been whether he would have enough customers to pay rent. Now he was being asked to help save the galaxy. What about my normal life? Jake asked. My shop, my friends, my routine? Echo's voice became gentle. That life is already gone, Jake. The moment you fixed me, the moment you chose to help, rather. Then Prophet, you stepped onto a path that cannot be retraced. The only choice now is whether you will embrace your new role or run from it. Jake thought about Danny, who had noticed that Echo was too advanced to be a simple pet. He thought about all the broken machines he had fixed over the years, and all the people he had helped. Maybe this was just a bigger version of the same thing. Okay, Jake said. I accept the role of guardian. But I have conditions. Elder Vex looked surprised. Conditions? First, we do this together. I'm not going to make decisions about galactic knowledge by myself. We work as a team. Echo nodded approvingly. Wisdom is always improved by multiple perspectives. Second, we find the other repositories and their guardians before the Vorthic do. We don't abandon anyone. Agreed, Echo said. Third, Jake continued, we use this knowledge to help people, not to gain power or control others. The moment we start acting like the Vorthic, we've lost. Commander Thane frowned. And who decides what constitutes help versus control? We. All do, Jake said. That's why we work together. Suddenly, the building shook as a Vorthic ship hovered directly overhead. A powerful scanning beam swept through the shop, and Echo's crystal body began to glow brighter in response. They've found us, Elder Vex whispered. A booming voice echoed from the ship above. Repository unit detected. Surrender immediately or face destruction. Echo stood up straight. Jake, as my guardian, you must make your first decision. Do we run, hide, or fight? Jake looked around at the group. Lyra was scared but determined. Elder Vex and Commander Thane were clearly ready to flee. Echo waited calmly for his answer. We fight, Jake said, but not the way they expect. He turned to Echo. You said the repositories can combine their abilities. Can you contact the others from here? If I increase my power output, yes, but it will make us an even bigger target. Do it, Jake said. Send a message to every repository in the galaxy. Tell them it's time to stop hiding. Echo's crystal body blazed with brilliant light. Energy patterns swirled around him as he reached out across space to contact his companions. The shop filled, with holographic displays showing star maps and communication channels. Through Echo's connection, Jake could sense 3 other repositories responding from distant worlds. There was harmony on a peaceful farming planet, wisdom hidden in a grate, library world, and memory kept safe by a family of explorers on the galaxy's edge. Tell them about the Guardian Bond, Jake said. Tell them to find protectors from other species. Tell them we're going to take back our galaxy from the Vorthic. As Echo transmitted the message, the Vorthic ship above them powered up its weapons. Jake could hear War Master Krell's voice over the ship's communication system, speaking in the harsh Vorthic language. But Jake was no longer afraid. As Echo's guardian, he could feel the vast knowledge flowing through his mind. He understood technologies that humans had never dreamed of. He could see solutions to problems that had seemed impossible. Echo, Jake said, show me how to build a defense grid. Working together, they used the knowledge of the ancient Sepharians to turn Jake's simple repair shop into something amazing. Energy barriers sprang up around the building. Defensive systems that had been theoretical became real. The broken machines in Jake's shop suddenly came to life, transformed into protectors powered by repository technology. When the Vorthic ship fired its weapons, the energy was absorbed and redirected harmlessly into the ground. When they sent soldiers to capture Echo, they found themselves facing defenses that their weapons could not penetrate. War Master Krell's frustrated roars could be heard across the city as his supposedly easy mission became impossible. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. The real work would start now, finding the other repositories, building a network of guardians from different species, and using ancient wisdom to create a better future for everyone. Over the following weeks, Jake's repair shop became something entirely new. Beings from across the galaxy began arriving, scientists, philosophers, and teachers who wanted to learn from the repository knowledge. Jake found himself at the center of a growing movement. The Vorthic continued to search, but they could no longer track the repositories now that they were bonded with guardians from other species. The ancient failsafe worked perfectly, protecting the knowledge while allowing it to be shared responsibly. Danny Rodriguez. became the first human student at what people started calling the Academy. Representatives from dozens of species arrived to learn about clean energy, medical techniques, and peaceful conflict resolution. Lyra took on the role of cultural liaison, helping different species understand each other better. Elder Vex and Commander Thane worked to organize refugee assistance for planets threatened by the Vorphic. Echo served as the primary teacher, finally able to fulfill the purpose his creators had given him so long ago. The knowledge of 3,761 years of Zephyrian civilization began to spread across the galaxy, not as a weapon or tool of control, but as a gift freely shared with all who would use it wisely. Jake often stood in his transformed shop, watching students from a dozen different worlds working together on projects that would benefit billions of beings. The simple mechanic who had once worried about paying rent had become the guardian of galactic knowledge, but he never forgot the lesson that Echo had taught him on